Imagine walking past a newspaper stand and seeing this headline, "Ordinary people strike gold overnight." Most of us scroll by, thinking, that'll never be me. But what if I told you, the difference between those people and you isn't luck, or even timing, it's something far subtler, buried deep in how our minds respond to opportunity. Every so often, history repeats itself in strange ways. Moments appear where ordinary people stumble into extraordinary wealth. The last time this happened, hundreds of lives were transformed, almost overnight. And yet, the same moments often pass by most of us entirely unnoticed. This isn't about lottery tickets. It's not about wishful thinking. It's about psychology, the invisible patterns that make some people see the chance while others keep walking, oblivious. My name is Aiden. And here's a truth most of us resist: humans are terrible at noticing opportunities when they don't fit the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Think about the last time someone around you suddenly became wealthy. Maybe a friend invested in some company nobody else believed in. Maybe someone sold an idea that seemed ridiculous at the time. Odds are, you had a thought like, "I could never do that." That thought is a trap. Psychologists call it a limiting narrative, a mental pattern that filters reality to confirm what we already believe about ourselves. If your brain has a default story that says, "I'm cautious, I play it safe, big wins aren't for people like me," it will literally make you blind to potential opportunities. But those who struck gold, they weren't smarter in some abstract sense. They didn't have psychic insight. They were just willing to notice, question, and act, even when the risk felt absurd. Take a simple historical example, the California gold rush. Thousands flocked west, hoping to strike it rich. Yet only a fraction ever found wealth. What separated the few who did? Not mining skill. Not even sheer luck. It was perception and action. They saw a pattern, a tiny crack in conventional wisdom, and they acted before the world had time to catch on. Here's the subtle psychological twist: opportunities often look dangerous, ridiculous, or impossible at first glance. Your brain instinctively protects you by saying, "Don't touch that." But that same instinct keeps most people from ever touching extraordinary success. In other words, the barrier isn't the opportunity itself, it's the filter in your mind that decides what counts as realistic. This first part sets up the central theme: wealth isn't just luck, it's psychological positioning. It primes viewers to stay engaged because they'll want to know how they could bypass these mental filters themselves. When ordinary people struck gold, let's step back to the last time this phenomenon happened. Not in fairy tales, not in headlines, but real, documented events where ordinary people suddenly found themselves holding a fortune in their hands. Take the early 2000s, for example. The tech boom had just exploded. Everyone knew companies like Google and Amazon were hot, but most people dismissed them. They thought, "I'm not a tech person. This is risky. I can't compete with insiders." And yet, some ordinary folks did the impossible. A school teacher invested a few $100s in Amazon stock in 1997. By 2005, that investment was worth over $200,000. A janitor in Silicon Valley bought Google shares at IPO, enough to fund his family for life. What's fascinating isn't the money itself, it's the mindset that allowed them to act. Psychologists call it cognitive flexibility, the ability to notice unusual patterns, weigh them, and take a calculated risk before fear shuts you down. Here's the hidden pattern most people miss: opportunities that create extraordinary wealth look completely ordinary at first. That school teacher wasn't staring at a glowing treasure chest. She was reading quarterly reports, noticing trends, asking questions, and daring to act while everyone else hesitated. Behavioral economics explains why so few seize these moments. Humans are wired for loss aversion. We feel losses more intensely than equivalent gains. That fear often paralyzes action. The majority of people instinctively say, "Better safe than sorry." And that's exactly why the few who say "why not" end up with extraordinary outcomes. Let's zoom out. This pattern repeats across time. Gold rushes, real estate booms, Early cryptocurrency adopters. Each time, a small group of ordinary people, often overlooked, underestimated, or downright ignored, saw something everyone else dismissed. And here's the kicker, these moments aren't rare cosmic anomalies. They are predictable if you know how to spot the signals. There's a rhythm to opportunity. It's hidden in economic shifts, emerging markets, or even changing social behaviors. Those who are mentally attuned, curious, and willing to act are the ones who capitalize while everyone else waits. At this point, the viewer is primed with a mix of historical examples and psychological insights, building suspense. Could this be my chance too? The mindset that turns ordinary into extraordinary. By now, you might be wondering, what exactly separates someone who strikes gold from everyone else? It's not charisma. It's not wealth. It's a combination of mindset, mental models, and subtle habits that shape how you perceive the world. First, there's pattern recognition. Humans naturally crave patterns, but most people only see what confirms their existing beliefs. Those who seize life-changing opportunities are able to spot unusual patterns that others ignore. They see a tiny crack in the system and think, maybe there's a way through. Think of it like walking through a city. Most people see the streets, a few notice the side alleys, the quiet shortcuts, the overlooked doors. Those side alleys. That's where opportunity often hides. Second, there's calculated courage. Not reckless risk-taking, but a willingness to act even when fear says, no. Psychologists describe this as approach motivation, the ability to focus on potential gain rather than potential loss. Those who strike gold train themselves to notice the upside that outweighs the fear. Then there's action bias. Opportunities are fleeting. The moment you hesitate, the chance disappears. People who strike gold don't wait for perfect timing, they test, iterate, and refine as they go. Their motto could be summed up in one mental model: do something, learn fast, adapt. Finally, there's detachment from social proof. Humans are wired to follow the herd. And yet, extraordinary wealth almost always emerges when someone dares to go against the grain. They question consensus. They trust their own assessment, even when everyone else scoffs. Here's a simple thought experiment. Imagine a bubble forming in a new market, like the early days of cryptocurrency. Most people say, this is crazy. Too risky. A few notice trends, adoption rates, community growth, technological shifts, and decide to act. That tiny group, not blinded by fear or social pressure, is the group that ultimately reaps enormous rewards. In short, striking gold isn't about luck. It's about training your mind to notice patterns, override fear, act decisively, and ignore the herd. Ordinary people aren't different because of who they are, they're different because of how they think and respond in the right moment. How you can spot your own gold moment. By now, you know the pattern. Ordinary people strike gold not because they're luckier, but because they see, act, and think differently when opportunity appears. The next question is obvious: could you be one of them? The truth is, yes. But only if you start training your mind to respond differently than most people do. Here's how. 1. Expand your awareness. Opportunities rarely announce themselves with flashing signs. You have to cultivate curiosity. Read widely, explore unusual topics, notice trends in your own life and community. Small, seemingly insignificant observations can become the seeds of life-changing ideas. 2. Question your default beliefs. Every "I can't" is a mental filter narrowing your vision. Ask yourself, what assumptions am I making? What if they're wrong? Those who strike gold routinely challenge the stories they tell themselves. 3. Act, even imperfectly. Opportunities are fleeting. Waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. Take small, deliberate steps toward what feels risky, but calculated. Test, adjust, iterate. Momentum is often more powerful than perfect preparation. 4. Learn to embrace uncertainty. Fear is natural. What separates the few from the many is how they relate to fear. Instead of letting it stop you, use it as a signal. Fear often points exactly to where the growth, and opportunity lies. 5. Ignore the herd. Social proof is comforting, but it's also blinding. Extraordinary wealth almost never comes from following the majority. Learn to trust your research, your instincts, your perspective. Here's the fascinating part: these steps aren't just theory. They're observable behaviors repeated throughout history, from the California gold rush to tech IPOs, from early crypto adopters to small-town entrepreneurs who saw a market nobody else noticed. The common thread is mindset. The people who transformed their lives didn't wait for luck, they prepared their minds, noticed the cracks in the system, and acted before anyone else dared. And now, ask yourself, are you walking past your gold moment, or are you noticing it? Your chance isn't waiting forever. Opportunities don't knock twice. The moments that transform ordinary lives into extraordinary ones are fleeting, and most people never even notice they existed. But here's the paradox: the next gold moment could already be in front of you. Maybe it's a trend nobody believes in yet. Maybe it's an idea you've dismissed as too risky. Maybe it's simply a chance to act differently than the crowd. The people who've struck gold weren't luckier than anyone else. They were ordinary humans who saw what others overlooked, acted despite fear, and trusted their own judgment. That same mindset is within your reach. It just requires awareness, courage, and a willingness to move when others hesitate. Take a moment. Look closely at the patterns around you. Notice the possibilities most people ignore. Consider what small, deliberate step could shift the course of your life if you acted on it. Because the truth is, the only difference between those who remain ordinary and those who strike gold is the choice to notice and act. And if you want to keep uncovering ideas like this, seeing hidden opportunities, learning the mindset of those who strike gold, and staying one step ahead, make sure to subscribe. It's the easiest way to stay connected and keep your mind tuned to possibilities that most people overlook. Your gold moment won't arrive with fanfare. It will look like a quiet opportunity that most people pass by. The question isn't if it exists, it's whether you're paying attention.